Joining us on the program, he has come on the show before talking Boston Celtics playoff basketball was the last time this guest joined us. Now he is an author of a book called Donnie Baseball about Yankees great number 23 Don Mattingly. Now joining me, Mike Shalin. Mike, Zach Gelb here, Shovio.com. Thank you for joining me. How you doing on this fine evening?
I'm doing great, but has it been that long ago, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while. You were talking about Kendrick Perkins the last time you were on this show and his lack of offensive and defensive game, and Perkins is in a little trouble right now, so it's been a long time, Mike, but it's great to have you on.
That was back when there was an NBA, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I know that you do a bunch of scoring work for the Boston Red Sox. I know the Red Sox right now are playing against the Texas Rangers in Texas, but how do you foresee this AL East between the Yankees and the Red Sox turning out? Who wins it?
Well, there's really no way to call it. They're so close, obviously, being tied. Here we are, almost the end of August. I originally had thought that the Red Sox were clearly the better team. I thought they were the best team in baseball heading into the season. But things have happened. You know, they don't have Buchholz. They may or may not get him back in September. He's been very encouraged lately about what's going on with his back. Plus, you know, I thought Carl Crawford would be better. And he's been a little bit of a disappointment, I guess, is an understatement. But yeah, the Yankees starting pitching is starting to show some cracks, and you know, there's gonna be players acquired, I think, between now and this you know, August 31st deadline, this waiver deadline. So I'm not sure we're really looking at the finished products yet.
Let's just say Clay Buchholz isn't ready to go for October baseball. Let's say October baseball is tomorrow. You have Beckett and Lester in that rotation. Who would be the third guy for the Boston Red Sox?
I would think it would be Lackey. And Lackey has come on. He's only lost one game in his last, 10 starts. He hasn't pitched great, but he's winning. And he's also postseason tested. So I would think it would be Lackey. I think that, you know, Bedard could change that, but if they need a fourth, they can go with Bedard or Wakefield.
And one thing that has really surprised me this year with the Boston Red Sox has been the play of Jacoby Ellsbury. For crying out loud, everyone last year was trying to trade this guy, and no one would go out there and make a trade for the center fielder. And this year he has been an MVP type of candidate, being at a lot of Red Sox games this year. What have you noticed differently with Jacoby Ellsbury's work ethic this year?
I always thought he was a super talent, and whether or not he could do what he's doing now, you never know that, because the power thing has come as a little bit of a surprise. But I thought people were really hard on him last year, and really kind of wrote him off a little bit too soon. You know, this rib injury is painful, and it was explained. Well, I heard one doctor call in on a radio show one day, and they talked about how he had separation in his rib in the front and the back of the rib. So he really was finding a double whammy. Now he comes into the season and everybody's got him written off, you know, and he'll never do this, he'll never do that. But those are the same people that were saying that Frankie Rodriguez would never save another game for the Mets. And you saw how that worked out. So things have a way of changing. And Ellsbury, to me, there's a lot of Grady Sizemore in him. There's a lot of similarities between those two players. And I think sitting in the catbird seat of that lineup, you know, with you know, basically 3-4 MVP type caliber hitters behind him, I just think he's taking it and run to the next level.
The name of the book is Donnie Baseball, about Yankees great Don Mattingly. Let's talk about the book right now. I know you have written at the New York Post over the years, but in recent memory, a lot of your work is done up at Boston. And I know you hate this question so much, but I'm actually fascinated by it. I would think if they had someone writing a book about Don and Mattingly, it would be a guy that is usually a New York guy only. You have a mixture of both in New York and Boston. How did you get to write this book?
Well, people say to me, "What's a guy from Boston doing writing a book about a guy from New York?" And my answer to that is that I'm from New York and he's from Indiana. So you know, it kind of happened, really. It's a result of a conversation on Facebook. A friend of mine, Arthur Pincus, who's a longtime journalism guy in New York, sent me a note one day saying that Triumph is looking for somebody to do a book on Mattingly. First of all, I was surprised that a book had never been done on him. and was later to find out that it hadn't been done because he refused to cooperate. He never wanted a book written on him at all, let alone doing an autobiography. Now this wound up this wound up not being an autobiography or an authorized biography. It just wound up being a biography with his cooperation, and I'm kind of flattered in that he when I basically said to him he came in with the Dodgers. They came in and played at Fenway, and I saw him, and I said, I'm writing a complimentary book about you, whether you help me with it or not. And he just said, what do you need? And then when I asked him about that, when I saw him in May at Citi Field, I said, I was happy when Ray Schulte, who's his business manager, said to me that like 10 or 15 people had tried to do books with him. And he said no, and he just said to me, he said, you didn't give me any choice. So we sat down, we had a couple of long sit-downs, some phone conversations, and it probably got done a little bit too hastily because of what happened with the managerial situation. I had to focus more on that and less on background. But all in all, the people that I talked to that like baseball books appreciated a book just about baseball. I took some heat from a reviewer saying that I didn't delve deeply enough into his the personal life angle, and I told Don, he had a pretty messy divorce, and I told him that I wasn't interested in writing about his divorce. So while it's mentioned in the book, there's no great detail about it. So the people who like baseball, the people who like Mattingly, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on it, and unfortunately, I wish the Dodgers would have won more this year because it probably would have helped me out a little bit.
Was there any temptation in your part to go out there, since this guy has such a good guy image, and write about the divorce? Was there any whatsoever? Did you ever go to sleep at night thinking maybe I'll put this in the book?
Well, I think had he not had that assurance from me that I wasn't, I'm not sure I would have had such cooperation from him. And frankly, I'm sick of that stuff. There's so much, and believe me, one reviewer said that I wrote this book from the angle of hero worship, and because there's nothing negative in the book, and for people who don't know, you just mentioned it. I worked for the New York Post. I cut my teeth at the New York Post, so to look for the negative, it's natural for me. It's like having cereal for breakfast. But nobody said anything bad about Don Mattingly. If somebody would have said something bad, it would have been in the book. But people just really adore this guy, and right down to guys like a young infielder named Pat Kelly, who they had back in the 90s. Susan Waldman told me that Kelly would sit and he'd watch Mattingly and put his uniform on the same way that Mattingly did. And the stories about him taking Bernie Williams under his wing when Bernie was a young, shy kid who took a lot of heat from not the greatest group of guys when Bernie first got there. Things like that. And Buck Showalter talking about how much of a leader Don was, how so many of the things Donnie handled that normally would get to the manager's desk and how you have to deal with it. Mattingly would take care of it for him. And plus the angle of the outright tragedy that he never got to play in the World Series. The story is just full of ironic twists at every point, right down to when he left the Yankees to go to the Dodgers. The Dodgers won. I mean, the Yankees won when he left.
Yeah.
They didn't win while he was there. They didn't win the World Series while he was there as a coach. But as soon as he left, the Yankees won the World Series in 2009. So, but the good thing about Mattingly, one of the good things about Mattingly is that I think other people feel worse for him than he does when it comes to that stuff. He doesn't dwell on the past. He's more concerned with what can I do today to make myself and my team better for tomorrow. And I think that's just he's just an old-fashioned baseball guy.
Looking at Mattingly's career was cut short due to the back injury, and you talk about his diligent attitude on and off the field. Do you believe taking those extra cuts before games when he was a player attributed to his back injuries?
Sure, it could have, and I think he would admit that. He was relentless when it came to work ethic. And you got to remember too that we're talking almost 25 years ago when his back started to become a problem. and you have to wonder if the medical, and fitness things that they do now might have helped, because so many things have changed. He even admitted that he doesn't know what he would have done if steroids were available to him, because he would have liked to have not had to do what he had to do just to get on the field every day. And it was a combination of that and his kids that ended his career at 34. But he was just tireless in the batting cage and the tee, and even on days after he had good days, there was something that he found wrong that he could improve on. It's just a tremendous work ethic, and he's doing the same thing now as a manager, and he did the same thing as a batting coach. He likes to work. Phil Curry told me that when he showed up as a guest instructor in '97 for the first time, it was clear from day one that Don didn't want anything for free. And he immediately started working with guys, and if it was a double A or triple A player, he got the same treatment as one of the Yankee stars. So that's just the way he is. And again, I wish that the situation was a little bit better in LA, but then again, I'm not convinced that if the situation was better, that maybe Torrey wouldn't have managed another year. I think Joe left because of the craziness that was going on.